Peekaboo.
I see you, and you're caught in the SF-Vortex. Hey, keep it down, clown. We're going to be the first to preview clips from Spawn, the movie.
Don't get cocky. We have a lot more to learn.
Yeah, try telling that to B5's Garibaldi. He's dragged into making one of his toughest decisions yet, but I'm sure he'll make the right choice.
Yeah, thanks for the reassurance.
Hey, pal, that's what I'm here for. And to warn you, there's a ghost loose in San Francisco's Chinatown, and it's up to the poltergeist team to catch her. Of course, they'll have to get through that language barrier first. But I promise, you won't need a translator in the Vortex today. So I'd be honored if you'd hang around and see what's burning up in the world of sci-fi entertainment.
The honor is mine.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of SFVortex. I'm Roger Lodge, and boy, do we have a show for you. On the TV front, there's a season finale and a series finale. And we've also got previews of all new episodes from some of your favorite syndicated shows as well. And that's just the beginning. We've got dinosaurs running rampant, a sneak peek at the much-anticipated Spawn feature. That's right, you'll see it here first. And coming up in the War Room, is it easier for a TV series like Star Trek to jump to the big screen than for a feature like Highlander to scale down to the small one? Well, we'll find out with Star Trek's Michael Piller and Highlander's David Abramowitz. They'll be here to hash that out a little bit later on. But first up, it's dinosaurs on the rampage as the Lost World hit $92.7 million in just 5 days. Incredible. The film opened with a $22 million bite and continued to devour all the previous records. It easily surpassed Mission Impossible's $85.7 million set last Memorial Day and ID4's 5-day $85 million over last 4th of July. But as successful as it was, not everyone was pleased with the film. One of our viewers, John, wrote to us saying, "I just saw Lost World and it was awful. I couldn't believe how utterly dumb the second half was, and the only thing I really liked were the stegosaurs." Well, that's just one man's opinion, but dumb movie or not, millions of others are eager to get to that movie theater. Will this Dino-mania ever end? Stay tuned for updates throughout the summer. Now, many of you have been writing and emailing us for weeks, wondering what's going on with the highly secretive Spawn feature. Ladies and gentlemen, wait no longer. Because you asked for it, you are about to be among the very first to see the new Spawn trailer. So get cozy and check it out.
Peekaboo. I see you.
We have harvested the ultimate weapon. Makes the Ebola virus look like a skin rash.
Congratulations. I say destroy the cosmos, ask questions later.
Who are you?
This is just what they want. You're playing their game.
To now play dirty.
You've been violated, girly man.
Use your armor!
Now stay sharp. The night is young.
How about that? Looks like we have another superhero on our hands, huh, folks? Spawn explodes in the theaters this August. Now, from Hellspawn hero to Hellmouth heroine. The WB's cult hit Buffy the Vampire Slayer ends its freshman season with a bang on Monday night as the Buffster and Angel team up to stop a vampire invasion of Sunnydale High on prom night, no less. Boy, the only thing that invaded my prom was disco. Ha! But seriously, folks, a series that has no intention of taking the whole summer off is Babylon 5. This week, Garibaldi arrives on Mars to meet his mysterious new employer, who has a few questions of his own.
Hey, what the hell? Come on! What the hell's going on? Let me go! Let me go! Hey!
Don't be concerned, Mr. Garibaldi. Everything's fine. You're in no imminent danger.
Yeah, thanks for the reassurance. So who's she? What's she doing here?
She is a telepath, Mr. Garibaldi. She knows nothing of our situation here or our discussion. I have hired her for a surface scan only. She will not probe deeply, will not know the context of our discussion. She will only tell me if you are telling the truth when you answer. Do you understand?
Oh, yeah, I understand. That's why the muscle.
So you'd have no time to prepare mentally. I want your heart rate fast, your thoughts jumbled, to guard against any blocks or attempts to mislead us. Now, for starters, I want you to tell me what you think about telepaths.
And more importantly, Mr. Garibaldi, what do you think about TV hosts? Yeah. Check your local listings to find this episode, which starts the week of June 2nd. Now, on a disappointing note, folks, the NBC series Dark Skies airs its final episode Saturday at 8 p.m. The finale of the low-rated series promises to bring the alien conspiracy storyline to its conclusion. And according to the show's creator and executive producer Bryce Zabel, it's a doozy.
One of the good things about doing an entire year of a television series is you learn what really works, and then if you get a chance to go out with one episode, you can do whatever works and do a lot of it. So that's what we're doing in our final episode called Bloodlines. It's the summer of love. It's 1967, and in that final hour, you'll be able to see Timothy Leary and Carl Sagan and Ronald Reagan, and even find out the true identity of Charlie Manson. So it really rock and rolls. It's got everything in it, from a 10th Planet to Project Intruder, and we're going to tell you what happened to all our characters, and some of them aren't going to get out alive. So it's a pretty interesting hour.
They don't get out alive? Told you it was a doozy. If you're a fan of Dark Skies, folks, trust me, you don't want to miss it. All right, another don't miss this week is the syndicated series Poltergeist: The Legacy. Now, when two city workers desecrate an ancient grave beneath San Francisco's Chinatown, it's up to the team to save the city from a very disgruntled spirit. See what happens when you forget to order the Sci-Fi channel? People get angry. All right, you know, fans of Steven Weber should check out this week's syndicated installment of The Outer Limits. Weber, who, of course, you remember from ABC's The Shining, takes a crack at directing this episode. It's entitled The Revelation of Becca Paulson and is based on a Stephen King story. Check your local listings for day and time. Of course, when we come back, there'll be no time for friendship in the war room. It's TV versus film. What works and what doesn't. And maybe, just maybe, we'll get a little hint from the upcoming Star Trek feature from Michael Piller. It all happens when the Vortex returns. All right, welcome back to SF Vortex. We've made it down to the war room, and joining me today, Mr. Daniel Bernardi is here, author of Star Trek and History, Racing Toward a White Future, and other books and articles on science fiction, film, and television. And, ladies and gentlemen, he is the head writer on one of my favorites, Highlander. He's Mr. David Abramowitz, and we welcome him. And a newcomer to the war room, Star Trek's talented Michael Piller, co-creator of DS9 and Voyager, and he's the second most famous graduate from the University of North Carolina. All right, guys, topic number one, cross-pollination between TV and movies. Let's face it, it's increasing year after year. Some critics, not this one, but a lot of critics are saying it's a bankruptcy of ideas on both sides of the genre. Do you agree, David Abramowitz?
If an idea is good and it works in a movie, why not do it as a feature? I mean, why not do it as a television series? Certainly when Shakespeare wrote plays, if you watch Hamlet or you watch something else as a movie, it plays as a movie. Why not? Why can't you do things in lots of different
Yeah, but the mediums are different. I mean, in television you have an emphasis on ensemble casts, on relationships, on dialogue, where in film it's event-driven. I mean, we go to movies on dates with friends for a spectacle, for an event. So some TV shows don't quite make it, and some films don't quite make it the other way as well.
Michael Piller, what do you think?
I think that television's a business.
All right.
And the reason why you're seeing television taking movie titles is because they have inherent audience identification. And then it's just a question of finding the right execution for those shows in order to make them work.
Okay.
I don't think it has to do with bankruptcy of ideas. It is what ideas have an advantage over the unknown ideas.
Okay, so we settle that by saying if the idea works, go with it.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go to a viewer letter, shall we? John Russell writes, movies from TV usually work well due to the lack of time constraints and absence of commercials. But movies to TV usually don't work. The characters and events of the movie are often lost or redefined to fit the small screen. Michael Piller, is he right?
Well, I haven't had that much experience in doing this sort of thing. What do you think?
I think, well, Highlander works as a TV series. It's been on, it's going into 6th year. MASH works as a TV series. It went on for 12 15 years, something like that. You know, it goes back to if the idea is good, if the idea works, it works in television.
Okay, Daniel?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, but there's something to the fact that, you know, MASH was an ensemble cast. And so you had a lot of relationships, and you get a lot of dialogue, and the event wasn't important. And I think that's why that made it. Highlander made it because it's a great concept. It's a great idea, you know, and it wasn't carried by a star. However, I think the norm is most don't make it. You can't make the transition. I think it's harder to make the transition from film to TV than the other way around because film is such a star-driven medium.
Okay, David, now you have transformed this Highlander, my favorite show, by the way. Well, second favorite, Babylon 5. It's back and forth every week. Anyway, you took this thing from a film to television. You made it work. How did it work? Why did it work for you guys?
I think we had a great star in Adrian Paul. I think that it's a strong concept. What's it like to be immortal? What's it like to live for 500 years? What moral questions can you get into? It's a great action adventure. It's a great venue for action adventure and morality plays, so it works.
Okay. Well, you know, movies do have a beginning, middle, and end. Most of them do anyway. And television requires some kind of continuing conflict to be in place in order to justify a series week after week. If the feature franchise does not provide that conflict, it does make it difficult, I think, to make that transformation.
Daniel?
Yeah, I know, that's exactly what I was trying to say, said better. That, you know, it does. TV has to go every week. You got to get the person to tune in. If you think about it from the point of view of the audience, right? We don't go watch TV for the same reasons we go see a movie. And that makes the big difference, in my opinion.
Okay. Viewer letter number 2. It's from T.M. Spell, who writes, I think that it is very important to have the original characters from the series in the movie. Okay. Mr. Piller, Star Trek, of course, uses the series, you know, in the movie. What's the advantage there of having, I mean, other than the obvious?
Well, the obvious is that the audience has an expectation, and you don't want them to be disappointed when they come into the theater. If you had called the Star Trek Next Generation movie by that title but had an entirely new cast, I think you would have lost the entire advantage that having a hit television show gave that franchise.
Right.
Okay. David, now you guys went kind of a different way.
From the movie to the series.
Absolutely. Now, what are the disadvantages of that? Were there any disadvantages?
No, I don't think so. I think that Everyone would like to see Connor, the original character.
Christopher Lambert, of course.
Yes,
Maybe
but
we can bring him back for season 6.
If you could write a very large check, we probably could.
Okay.
Well, that's the bottom line.
That is the bottom line.
You can't really go the other way very easily
No,
because
it's impossible.
the money that you pay to feature actors is just not going to work on a weekly basis for a television show.
So, Daniel, it all comes down to the money?
Well, it comes down to the money. It comes down to some stars can't make it on the big screen. You know, we don't
Name me
go
one.
see. Well, I'm not. Well, we go see Star Trek for Picard and Brett Spiner's
Darn right
data.
we
We
do.
don't see it for the rest of the
Well,
cast.
that's about
They're
10
important.
million right there.
Yeah, they're
Right up the
important.
bat.
I don't
I
think
don't-
I agree with that.
Oh, come on. You can't make a Star Trek film with the lead character being Dr. Crusher. You have to have a Picard.
But the appeal of Star Trek, and since I'm going to be working on the next movie, I hope I'm right about this, is that Picard is the patriarch of a family. And it is the adventures of this family as they go exploring through space and how they help each other get through the most difficult of circumstances that I think is the key to the significance of
He might,
Star
yeah,
Trek's
he might,
success.
he might be the patriarch to the family, but he carries the narrative. The story revolves around him. Brent Spiner. It can't revolve around any of the supporting characters because he can carry over to the big
And
screen. He's got star quality.
And we can't go on without paying a few bills, so let's go to a break. But don't go anywhere, folks. There's lots more here in the War Room. I might even get a little bit of a hint of what's coming up in that next Star Trek film from Mr. Pillar. Don't go anywhere. We're right back. All right, welcome back to SF Vortex. We are still in the War Room with writers David Abramowitz, Daniel Bernardi, and Star Trek's Michael Pillar. Mr. Pillar, the advantages of doing Star Trek week after week on a television series over the motion picture.
Well, we were just talking about the supporting cast and the other players besides the captain, and essentially you have the freedom to develop those characters over 26 weeks and 26-hour episodes. That's something you can't do in a feature film once every 2 years.
Right. Daniel Bernardi, something in the past Star Trek films that you haven't seen that you want to see in the upcoming Star Trek film?
Oh, well, that's...
Come on, let's talk about it.
Can I take your pen and take some notes here?
Yeah, go right.
Take some notes. I got one better for that. I can tell you what I don't want to see.
Okay.
I don't want to see good data, bad data. I don't want to see another time travel. You know, and I don't want to see another enemy like the Borg pacified and ruined in the film.
But we want to see lots of the Borg Queen.
And I'll tell you something else. No, and we want to see more Brent Spiner and more Picard conflict, which was really evident in the series, but kind of didn't make it into the feature films, which I thought was a nice backstory in the series.
I can't go into the subject material of the new movie. I'm
Right.
sorry. I can say that there is time travel, and there is the good data, bad data,
Okay.
and there is a villain that we totally ruin. But aside from that, I can't go into the specifics.
So you're just
Villain
redoing
totally
First Contact.
ruined. Okay, we got that. All right, let's move on to my next topic. And Mr. Abramowitz, it's for you, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Movies like Lost in Space. Okay.
Yes.
Or why do we bring back Lost in Space as a feature film rather than let's bring it back as a TV series? Why not?
Because someone thought they could make a great deal of money bringing it back as a movie.
Oh, so here we are back to the money thing again.
Well, you know,
Funny about that.
it's
Isn't
why
that
people
amazing?
are in the business, I
That's
think.
why they call it show business.
That's exactly why they call it show business.
Is that the reason, Mr. Pillar?
That they call it show business. Is
What-
that the
what-
reason?
what do you think of maybe Lost in
Space is the second most known television franchise next to Star Trek. So why not try to do what they did with Star Trek and turn it into a feature film franchise and make lots of money? Everybody would like to create a new franchise for feature films. You know, feature films are becoming more like television because
Right.
they want the franchise that they can do 3 or 4 movies over the next several years.
Yes, another reason why they wouldn't make it, I think, another sitcom is because, you know, those actors are gone, so they have to recast the whole show. The great thing about Star Trek with the motion picture is that they were able to bring back the original stars, and that had the carryover effect.
Okay. Mr. Pillar, before we let you go, there's nothing you can give us a little hint, because, you know, all our viewers find out that you're coming on the show and that everybody wants to talk about.
I can tell you that Rick Berman and I have been working on a story that is going to advance the franchise, is going to change relationships, is going to see some very dramatic changes in the character of Picard and of Data, and you'll get your conflict.
Okay. We're going to get that conflict. All right. Okay, there you have it. We got to get out of here. I want to thank my guests, Mr. David Abramowitz from Islander, Daniel Bernardi, and Mr. Michael Pillar. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Will you come back sometime?
Absolutely.
And
I've been here before.
Before we get out of here, though, season number 6, it's going to happen. We're coming back. Give us a little preview. Come on, a little something now. You can't give us anything?
We'll understand the nature of evil.
That's it.
That's it.
That's all you're going to tell
That's
us. I got a lot
That's
of people out there that want to know
That's
about
all.
the
Finally.
show.
Been waiting a while.
I got a lot of people out here. They want
Finally.
answers. It's the War Room. All right. All right, lots more in the Vortex. Don't go anywhere. Don't forget, folks, you're watching SF Vortex, recognized around the galaxy as your leader in science fiction entertainment. See you in a minute. All right, welcome back to SF Vortex. One quick note for all of you guys waiting to see James Cameron's Titanic. Guess what? You have to wait a little longer. The reportedly $200 million feature has been pushed back to a December 19th opening. Wow. Once again, I've reached into the old intergalactic mailbag and I've pulled out a few letters. This one from Costas Spelio, and he asks, now that Fox's option to make a new Doctor Who TV series has expired, will we be able to see more Doctor Who on American TV in the future? Well, as of now, there are no plans in the works to continue the Good Doctor's legacy. What a shame. But if anything changes, you'll hear about it first. Where else but here in the Vortex? Now, if you guys have any more questions, comments, or even War Room suggestions, feel free to email us at sfvortex@sci-fi.com or drop me. And coming up next week, we'll look back at some of our favorite Star Trek memories here in the Vortex, including highlights from the War Room with Major Barrett Roddenberry, Nichelle Nichols, and Chase Masterson. A lot of you wrote in that you missed it. Well, hey, we'll replay it for you. That wraps up this week's show. I'm Roger. See you next week.
Now your weekend of wonder continues with a double feature of technological terror. First up, a computerized skyscraper has gone offline in a big way. Paul Reiser must escape the tower. Sci-Fi Channel next.